Hey there and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of this honor mode walkthrough with our Dark Urge Halfling Bard Sylvia Hairyfoot. Apologies for the short break in the series, but I got married, and with that being a hopefully once-in-a-lifetime thing, I think it's fair to take some time off to celebrate. Now then, last time we left off after making our way into the lair of Auntie Ethel, who revealed her true nature as a hag and is still holding the pregnant Mayrina prisoner, who we want to free today. To that end, we have already dispatched of some of Ethel's thralls, although we kept one of them alive and only knocked them out, and we now find ourselves inside Ethel's ancient abode, where Mayrina is kept in a gnarled cage above a deep chasm. Ethel herself is nowhere to be seen, but that doesn't mean much. Over the course of the last few episodes, we have seen her vanish into and appear out of thin air, although there is of course still the possibility that she is in fact not here at all. So first things first, let's try to shed some light on that question. To prepare, we have Gale use his arcane recovery ability twice to regain 2 first-level spell slots, and then we are going to have him summon Shovel, a second version. The first is still with Sylvia. And both of those shovels will now function as our scouts for this area. We send Sylvia's familiar into the northwestern corner towards a door that we might want to investigate closer. However, our first priority remains finding Auntie Ethel, and she's nowhere to be seen. However, as we move Gale's shovel over to the other side of the chasm, that suddenly changes. Alright, there she is, and technically combat has begun, and unless you create some very specific conditions, it always begins the same way, with Ethel setting Mayrina's cage on fire and then duplicating herself. The real Ethel is easily identified though by clicking her portrait. Apart from her hit points and rather high AC, we also want to take note of her legendary action, which allows her to produce even more of these duplicates anytime a spell is cast. On top of that, she also possesses the alert feat, which makes it impossible to surprise her and nearly always guarantees she goes first in combat, so we pretty much just have to accept that a sneak attack ambush is not the way to go here, at least not in the traditional sense. Now, one thing you might be able to notice while we sort through the real Ethel and her duplicates is that our 2 shovels may be in combat, but the rest of the party is not. In fact, we don't even have to sneak with them to avoid getting pulled into the fight, at least not initially, and of course only as long as we stay far enough away, but we are going to do so regardless, at least with Karlach and Astarion, as we group our squad closely together here, and then finish by having Gale cast Mage Hand. Once again, as long as he's far enough away from Ethel, that won't cause any problems. Now, we've got a 10-turn timer on that Mage Hand that gives us enough time to prepare even outside of turn-based mode. So let's have Gale join up with the others and then have Sylvia drop a speed potion on the ground. You may already be able to see where this is going. However, before we use that speed potion, let's also apply an oil of accuracy to both of Sylvia's crossbows. 1 dosage conveniently applies to both the main and offhand weapon, and with that we are now good to go. Let's have the Mage Hand throw the speed potion and immediately enter turn-based mode. Our entire party is now hastened for 3 turns, and don't worry, I know that I still have non-lethal damage toggled on. More important than that at the moment though is that Karlach and Astarion are still hiding, so let's begin with everyone's favorite vampire and have him take a sneak attack shot at Auntie Ethel. Now, as soon as he fires and hits a critical, we need to re-enter turn-based mode with Karlach. The rest of the party has already entered the initiative, and you may also be able to see that all of them have lost one of their hastened turns. That is the only downside, I would say, to applying haste before combat starts. Hopefully, though, we won't need more than those 2 turns to finish the job here. Now then, Ethel has lost 19 of her 145 hit points, but Astarion's turn is not done. We can now move him up here. He fails a perception check to spot another trap, but that doesn't matter. Using a bonus action, he can hide again, and since the sneak attack technically happened before combat started, he now gets to shoot a second one. And that's a further 13 points of damage, a lovely start to this fight. Up next then it is Karlach's turn. She is still hidden and therefore throwing her spear has a 91% hit chance, and that's another critical hit for 17 points of damage. An absolutely fantastic start, but technically not needed to achieve what we want to achieve here today. So don't worry, you do not need a ridiculous amount of luck to pull this off. I have tested this whole approach very thoroughly and I would say it works 9 out of 10 times. That is, however, with this exact party composition and loadout, so your mileage may vary. Either way, getting the third critical hit in 4 attacks is certainly not part of the plan. At this point, it is generally acceptable to have Ethel below 100 hit points. Having her at 70 already is of course phenomenal. Time to go with Sylvia then, and despite Ethel's legendary action, we are going to cast the Cloud of Daggers spell. This will deal some guaranteed damage and summon another illusory duplicate. Once again though, there is absolutely no trouble identifying the real Ethel by just clicking on her portrait in the initiative order. Now at this point, even with the Oil of Accuracy, we only have a 65% hit chance. Let's see what a Slashing Flourish can do with that. Right, 1 hit, 1 miss, and 13 more points of damage. Damage-wise, we are now actually very close to the point I wanted to be at the end of the second round. And, well, Sylvia does have a bonus action still left. Unfortunately, though, that misses too. Now, one more thing I'd like to point out real quick. You may remember that well that Sylvia drank out of 2 episodes ago, I believe. The one that gave her 10 temporary hit points. Turns out, as with all things concerning Auntie Ethel, that was an illusion. Now that the fight has started, Sylvia has gained the nauseated condition, making her vulnerable to psychic and acid damage. Now at this point, we need to take care of the duplicates, and this is where our 2 shovels come in handy. They may only have a 45% hit chance, but 1 lucky hit for 5 meager points of damage is all it takes, as these duplicates will vanish upon taking any damage whatsoever. And that little quirk also extends the usefulness of our mage hand a bit. Again, a lucky hit here, but 1 point of damage is all it takes and we're down to only 4 duplicates. With our second shovel not in range to attack anyone, that brings us then to Gale, who, after undergoing Ethel's procedure in the last episode, now has the pay to the price condition. Luckily though, Magic Missile does not care in the slightest about advantage or disadvantage, it simply hits every time. And so that's 2 duplicates removed and Ethel has been dealt some minor damage as well. Let us now move him to a better spot and repeat the entire process once more. And there we go. Auntie Ethel has just lost all of her duplicates and more than 100 hit points in 1 turn of combat. Again, damage-wise, definitely not where I thought we'd be at this point, but there is no denying that it does make things easier. Now, to end our turn, Astarion has 1 more bonus action left that he can use for an offhand dagger strike. That only deals a meager 2 points of damage, and I know what you might be thinking at this point. And no, pushing Ethel into the chasm unfortunately does not work. Even if you succeed a shove attack against her strength score of 18, she will just pop right back up as if nothing happened. Now, to end things, we move Sylvia back a bit, and Karlach back as far as she can go. Mayrina's cage is still burning, but will last a few turns at least, while Ethel now regains her legendary action and moves, triggering an opportunity attack from Astarion that misses. And, well, finding her won't be so difficult, as both her dialogue as well as the invisible condition appeared right above her head. This is, by the way, almost guaranteed to be what Ethel spends her second turn of combat on, summoning another load of duplicates while she herself goes invisible. Now, the See Invisibility spell is not yet available to us, but there are plenty of other ways to work around the condition. You can, for example, see that the movement path here conveniently leaves out a small area. That's where she's standing. The easiest way to completely nullify her invisibility, however, is to abuse her legendary action, so let's have Gale get rid of a few more duplicates with another magic missile. Just as he does, Ethel triggers her weird magic surge, the invisibility is broken and a new duplicate appears, a small price to pay, I think. One of the duplicates is also in range of Gale's shovel, who once again hits her target and makes it vanish, and Sylvia's familiar follows suit just seconds later, removing another duplicate from the battlefield. Once again though, this is absolutely not something you need to rely on to win this fight. Gale has plenty of spell slots to cast magic missiles to take out all duplicates that can appear. Now, for our first attack against Ethel herself, we hide again with Astarion and launch another sneak attack, and that connects for 16 points of damage, almost as much as the crit last round. Either way, it now brings Ethel below 29 hit points, and that is an important threshold, more on that later. For now, we want to note that even with a critical, Astarion's hunting shortbow cannot remove Ethel's remaining 21 points of health, so let's hide again for a better hit chance and shoot one more arrow. A further 7 points of damage bring Ethel down to 14 HP, and we can go a little further. Let's launch one more magic missile with Gale to remove the last duplicate. 2 bolts go at Ethel herself. At this point, the hag now only has 6 hit points left, and we want to set things up for phase 2 of this encounter, which begins by moving Gale, who currently wears the guidance amulet, closer to Sylvia. Karlach, meanwhile, will run away as far from the fight as possible. However, she will only be able to walk through the traps in this area by equipping one of the Whispering Masks. Now, we saw with Sylvia in the last episode that this comes with the danger of falling under Ethel's control. However, the saving throw to determine whether or not that happens is taken at the end of the turn. And so we can use the fact that removing the haste helm does not remove Karlach's 3-turn momentum, and the fact that she still has an action left to dash, and the fact that the speed potion doubled her movement range to get far, far away from the action. The goal is to go so far that Karlach is taken out of the combat initiative, but before that happens, we want to take the mask back off. Now, putting it on or swapping it for another piece of gear would cost an action, but simply taking it off does not, and that leaves us with a bonus action and just enough movement to jump to this platform here, where the fighting is officially far enough away to no longer be of concern for Karlach. Thus, she is taken out of the initiative, loses all timed condition, and also needs to go through the post-speed potion lethargy, but we have her exactly where we want her to be, and can now bring it back to the rest of the party to end our turn.
Please, please, please. Wait! Wait just a tick! Killing me is a waste of time. I'll find a way to return. Always have, always will. But it's unpleasant. So how about we be civilized about this, I have something you want?
Alright, I suppose Ethel wouldn't be a true hag if she didn't try to weasel herself out of this with yet another proposition, but I think we've had enough of her deals. Let's stay focused on freeing Mayrina.
But she's worthless to you. Let me leave with the girl, and I'll give you power. You want to be stronger, tougher, smarter? Done. Anything is possible. Just let me keep the girl and her babe.
Not only would this be a vile deal, it would be folly to trust a hag's gifts.
It's your choice, sweetness.
Now, prioritizing a +1 ability score improvement over Mayrina's freedom would indeed be morally suspicious, but we're about for a good reason, and we can try to get both Mayrina and Ethel's reward, albeit with a rather difficult DC 20 deception check. Now, with guidance, we get at least a +8 bonus to the roll. Let's see if that's enough.
Greedy little bollocks. Fine. Here. I'll not soon forget this sweetness. You have my word.
But the deal... What about my husband? What happens to him?
Deal's off, you dumb cow. And you've her to thank for it. Not that it matters. I'll find another just as plump and ripe. I can set up shop elsewhere. People always need lotions and potions.
Right, now at this point it is extremely important that we do not pick another dialogue option, but instead switch to Karlach, who is far enough away to not be part of this conversation. Doing so also prompts us to pick the ability we want to improve with Auntie Ethel's hair. We can pick from each of the 6 abilities, and I think dexterity is the best choice, as we have several characters, Sylvia included, who would benefit from it. Then we sneak Karlach back towards the action, making sure to keep her out of Ethel's detection radius. By the way, the traps in this area are now all deactivated as a result of prompting Ethel's conversation, and once she arrives at the scene of the conversation that is still ongoing, we have her chuck one final javelin at the hag.
You bastard! You ruined it! You ruined everything!
And with that, Ethel is dead, and we've got a reward, and Mayrina is free, although she doesn't seem to be all too happy about it. So why is that?
Ethel was going to bring my husband back from the dead, and now I'll never see him again. Because of you!
Now, famously, hags don't work out of the kindness of their hearts, so what did Mayrina promise Ethel in return?
This. Just a bit longer and my child would have been born. And all this would have been over.
A life for a life, a drastic decision, and while Sylvia is probably not in a position to judge it, she's going to do so anyway.
Don't judge me. I have nothing. My baby would have been raised in rags. Auntie Ethel promised to give this child a good life. Teach them magic, even. More than I could have done.
At this point, it also becomes clear that Ethel most likely painted Mayrina a rather rosy picture of her child's future, likely to sway her into giving it up.
She said I'd make a bad mother. I think she was right. Now I'll have to drag Connor's coffin all the way home. It's the only way this child will ever meet their father. I hope you're happy.
Right, and so Mayrina runs off to grab Connor's remains from wherever she left them, and we have officially defeated another boss-level enemy without taking a single point of damage. There are plenty of other approaches you can take in this fight. Silencing Ethel, for example, works well to prevent her duplicates, but with Magic Missile, those are actually not too difficult to deal with. We also could have called in the ogres, as we still possess Lump's Warhorn, but doing it this way is easy enough without wasting that just yet. Now, after picking up our thrown weapons, we then make our way into what is clearly Ethel's workshop for potions, poisons, and other nefarious bits and pieces. Among other things, we find 2 letters here, one to and one from Ethel. In the one addressed to her, that mysterious M person reappears, telling Ethel about a client who fled without payment, and about a girl who was promised help for her mother's flailing mind. Now, this girl is not Mayrina, but we'll meet her soon enough. For now, let's read Ethel's response, telling her contact that her redcaps took care of the client, and that she plans to equip the girl with one of her masks. Let's pocket both of those letters, as well as a convenient speed potion to replace the one we just used, and then on the table we also find the Bitter Divorce, a wand with the name Connor scratched into it. Maybe this was planned to be Ethel's means to bring Mayrina's dead husband back. So let's take it, together with the Ever-Seeing Eye, an amulet that allows its wearer to cast the Protection from Evil and Good spell that helped us out with the Whispering Masks last episode. Inside a chest, Ethel has also stored various rings, likely once belonging to her victims, and on the other side of it we find a wicker chest with more potions, including another speed potion, as well as a stone shelf with plenty of unique concoctions, all of them with rather poetic names, and some with some dastardly effects. The game does not tell you what they do, however. That is for us to figure out. Finally, we have the Staff of Crones here, infused with the Ray of Sickness spell, a good early game item for spellcasters or those lacking ranged options, as Ray of Sickness deals a decent 2d8 damage if it hits. After some inventory management, we then come across a mushroom circle, and this one we want to use as it transports us back out into the putrid bog, and not only that, it also gives Karlach an inspiration, useful in case you need to re-roll during the dialogue with Ethel, or in the one coming up, as we find Mayrina here, right next to a mouldering coffin.
Gods! Didn't hear you coming. I know I should head home, but I can't bring myself to leave. The thought of putting him in a wheelbarrow and making the journey all over again.
Now, let's not tell her about the wand just yet. Instead, let's find out how she's dealing with the situation, even if the answer is painfully obvious.
Not even a little bit. But I will be.
For some closure, we will also suggest just leaving the coffin and its inhabitant here.
No! He deserves a proper burial. He deserves some rest. And he won't get that here.
And since that doesn't work, we'll be a little mean too, just to explore all dialogue options.
You're a miserable bastard, you know that?
Well, she might be changing her mind soon, as we can now reveal our possession of the bitter divorce.
What? You can?
You feel a surge of power from the wand. The air suddenly tastes acrid. It wants to be used.
Bring it back! Bring Connor back! Please!
And while we have the option here to snap the wand, the completionist approach of course demands that we use it.
What? What's happening? Why is he still dead?
You feel something pull at you. The creature yearns for a master.
What have you done to him?
Right, honestly, no surprise here. Ethel kept her promise, once again with a twist that Mayrina likely did not think about.
But this isn't what she promised! I wanted him back the way he was, not this!
Now at this point, we have to make a choice. We could give Mayrina the wand and control over her undead husband. We could kill it, triggering a fight with Mayrina too. Or, and unfortunately for her that is what we're going to do, we can keep the wand for ourselves.
You bastard! Give him back! I thought you were going to hell! I thought...
And there we go, that's the quest completed, and the bitter divorce has been changed to the second marriage, allowing us to summon the undead Connor zombie at will. I'll admit, having this be the first episode I record after getting married myself feels a tad bit ironic, but hey, we now have our very own zombie, and he's not too shabby with 28 hit points, a decent, reusable distraction if you will. This version right here, however, will not follow us. We first need to resummon it, which now also gives Connor the Undead Fortitude ability, allowing him to get back up after being reduced to 0 hit points. Once again, Connor is a pretty decent early game tank, and maybe keeping the wand for ourselves also allows Mayrina to get some closure. One thing we should note is that the zombie only stays summoned for 10 turns and then vanishes, but the staff can be used as often as we like. Now at this point, we want and actually need to take a long rest, but don't worry, this won't be the end of the episode just yet. In fact, what comes next might put the entire video at risk of getting demonetized. Let's see how YouTube handles one of the more raunchy scenes in the game. It's time for a nightly meetup with Lae'zel.
I've come to sate you and be sated. I lead, you follow.
Right then, we will of course agree this does not lock us into or out of anything. Just a heads up though, I have activated the game's no nudity setting, and I hope that'll be enough.
So you think. Let's see if you're right.
Gith train relentlessly.
We know our bodies inside and out. Let me show you. Close your eyes and submit.
Right, funny little leaves covering Lae'zel's private parts as we are asked to submit, but not so fast. What are we submitting to exactly?
I intend to take my pleasure. Say the word no, and you will go untasted. Say yes, and you brave turbulent waters. Tell me.
Well, how about we turn things around and have her submit for a change? By asking this question beforehand, we now get advantage on the DC 15 intimidation check.
I am ready.
You awake in pain. Your back, your hands, even your tongue ache.
It's time to rise. Dawn is upon us.
Alright, Lae'zel is not one for cuddling, it seems, but we can at least praise her for what seemed to be a great time.
Of course you did. I'm as extraordinary in bed as I am on the battlefield.
Now, I think she makes it very clear that asking about what's next or making love won't gain us a favorable response, so how about we inquire about her satisfaction instead? After all, we do want to make sure that Sylvia is a capable performer.
My hunger is sated for now, yes. I might even lay you again, should my whims so take me. Up now. Your moment's over.
Every breath, every blink proves exhausting. A long day awaits you.
And there we are, with the potential beginnings of another romance under our belt, and I would say it's time for a post-coital conversation.
Curious. I took of you completely. Yet your body seems no more worse for wear. Perhaps I might find use for it again.
And that is exactly what we're going to inquire about. Any chance of a repeat anytime soon?
I'll consider it if I am in need of relief. Until then, I'll enjoy watching you squirm from the anticipation of it.
Alright, and with that, we now want to bring Will into the party, taking Astarion's place, and we want to go right back into the swamp. Here we take the mushroom circle back into Ethel's lair, and we retrace our steps all the way back to the chamber where we met and fought the 4 masked thralls. You may recall that we killed 3 and left 1 knocked out, the Mask of Regret, and after our long rest, she is now back up on her feet.
We need to leave. You're not supposed to be here. She'll be furious.
Well, I think she'll be happy to hear that Ethel has been dealt with, and that no one can control her anymore.
I thought I was lost. Could feel my mind slipping away. If it weren't for you, I would have ended up like the others. Hollowed out and as good as dead.
Now, before we let her go about her business, let's find out how she ended up here in the first place.
Sheer desperation. My mother's mind is gone. She's forgotten herself. I tried medicine, magic, prayer. I'd have begged Merkel himself if I thought he'd listen. Heard about this wise woman out in the back end of nowhere who could help. I knew it was too good to be true, but I didn't care.
So, the Mask of Regret is in fact that girl from the letters in Ethel's workshop, and she's now free, so what's next?
Home. To Baldur's Gate. This isn't over yet.
Now that's a curious thing to say. After all, we killed the hag, so what's the issue?
You think Ethel was the only hag in the realms? Not by a long shot. There's more hags out there, and I'm going to do what I can to make sure no one else has to go through what I did.
Alright, a noble cause, and Will thinks so too. Seeing to it that she survives gives him an inspiration. Unfortunately, she is the only masked thrall that regains her mind after Ethel's demise. The others are permanently damaged, and so killing them is perhaps even the merciful thing to do. Now, moving on, we retrace our steps even further, back into the entrance gallery, where we meet back up with the elf Lorin.
Is the hag gone? God, tell me she's gone. Oh, please.
And yes, we can confirm to him as well that Ethel is gone.
May she burn in the 9 hells. The things she did. The things she made me do. Vile. Disgusting. Good gods. You're the one. The mind flayer.
Yeah, about that. We are obviously trying to stop that from happening, but if he can still see the transformation, he might be able to tell us more.
No. The hag's gift is gone, but it's going to happen. Soon. I saw you screaming, covered in your own insides as that thing bursts out of your skull. You change, skin ripping from your body, and then you butcher everyone around you.
Now at this point, we should question his vision. After all, Ethel has twisted the minds of all her victims, and he might be no different.
Hag magic it might be, but it's never been wrong. Not once. I'm so sorry. I can't stay. You're too dangerous. But I only hope it's a quick death.
And so he runs off, and we are left uncertain about our future. Nothing we can do but move on. The items here, by the way, are still possessed even after Ethel's death, but one poor soul is not.
Oh, me head! Oh no. No. Why ain't I petrified?
The dwarf's petrification now vanishes, but he doesn't seem to be happy about it, which is curious indeed.
I have the bite. Lae'zel's bite. How am I still breathing?
Now, the bite is a disease that we haven't heard of. Perhaps he can shed a bit more light onto its effects.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Your insides end up on the outside. Petrification stops the spread. I was on death's door. But now I feel great. How?
Well, the how can be easily explained even without a skill check. As a bard, Sylvia has heard enough tales of hags creating the dire circumstances that push people into making deals with them in the first place.
But why? Bloody hells! Double-crossing, filthy, lying wretch! She made me sick and then trapped me in stone for kicks!
Now, it would also be interesting to learn how long he was petrified, just to gauge how long Ethel has been operating in this swamp.
I don't know! Days! Years! My kids were only babes when I left. The stones know how old they are now.
And, well, we might as well tell him to focus on the positive. He is now a free man, and the hag is dead.
Only 'cause of you. I ain't got no way to repay you.
And since that is the case, there is no need to be mean about it. And it is true, we did not necessarily come here to free him specifically.
No. What you've done for me and mine today won't be forgotten. Thank you.
And so another one of Ethel's victims is rescued, and I think it's time we put one more soul out of its misery. The head of Mayrina here can sadly not be reattached, but this is no life worth living, and she is still very much alive, as indicated on the compass. So let's remove it from the body's hands, and put her soul to permanent rest. And with that, we can now go back up the stairs into Ethel's tea house, step back out into the bog, and call it an episode. There is one more thing to take care of in this swamp, related to the Shadow Druids, who may or may not be in bed with Korga, the druid ruling the Emerald Grove in Halsin's absence, and that is something we will likely take care of next time, but for today we can make the cuts. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.